For this section, we're going to be building a beginner AI chat app completely using Cursor. So this is what the end result is going to look like. If you guys actually go to the repo for this course, you're going to see that in app, the chat folder on this page.tsx, this is kind of the example code that you're going to be seeing me attempt to recreate here with Cursor with you guys live. And you can see we get a bunch of things here. So if I say hi, this is basically like a really simple chat GPT clone. We're getting streaming messages. We have the ability to chat with this model. We have a nice auto sizing input. Everything looks styled nicely. We get chat history here. You have the ability to delete our old chats with this nice alert dialog. You can close the sidebar. You can create new chats. Okay, so you can kind of do all of the very bare minimum chat features of kind of a chat GPT or a Claude. So our goal is to use Cursor to recreate as much of this as possible while writing as little code as possible. So we're going to try and interface with all of the AI features that Cursor offers to write as much code as possible. So the goal is, let's see if we can get as close to 100% AI code generation as we can here. And to kick things off, we have to do a few basic setup steps. So you guys are going to notice that I'm here in Cursor. I have my terminal open. Okay, so I like to use my terminal in here. Other people may like using kind of their OS native terminal or what have you. I'm just going to work in Cursor to keep things kind of simple. I'm going to actually change the directory here where I like my projects. So I have a nice little projects folder. I'm going to run that command. And now we are in that folder. Okay, so let's get around to doing the setup steps here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a Next.js app. So we're going to follow some of the shadcn installation instructions right on the docs here. We'll have a link to that. And the reason we're going to follow this set of instructions is because we're going to be using a couple of the components from the shadcn UI system. So the first thing you can do is go ahead and copy this script. I'm going to use npm here. So we're going to copy that, click npm, and go back into our terminal right here, Cursor. You're going to want to paste this, and we are going to have to select a few options here. So we want to, you can see in kind of blue text here, this is highlighted. We're just going to go ahead and hit enter. We're going to hit enter, and we're going to hit enter one more time. And this is going to set up a Next.js project for us. So this is kind of the web development framework that we're going to be using here to actually build our app. So once you have that installed, what you need to do is you actually need to go into the project itself. So we're still kind of at the projects folder, which is where I'm writing my code. That's going to probably look different for you, but we're going to cd into my-app. And you can see now we are in the app that we just installed. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go cursor dot. Odds are you don't have this shortcut set up. For me, this is going to open the project in a new Cursor window. What you're probably going to have to do is go open up the app that you just installed as the folder right here with this button. But I'm just going to do my little shortcut here and get a nice little new window with Cursor. So basically just get that command run, and then you can open up your app in a new Cursor window. Awesome. So once you're here, we're going to do a few additional setup steps before we actually get around to building the app. So I'm going to once again open my terminal here. You're going to see we're now in the current app, and we need to do the next step of installation here, which is we're actually going to initialize the shadcn library. So you want to go to this number 2 step. We're going to copy the npm command. We're going to paste it into our terminal, and we are going to run it. So this is going to initialize the shadcn project right here in our little chat app. So we're just going to kind of go through this. I like to use neutral as my color base. You can pick the one you like best. We're just going to keep hitting enter there, and you'll see this nice little success alert here in the terminal. Cool. So once you have that, we're going to install two components from the shadcn design framework here. We're going to do npx shadcn-ui at latest. Okay, so you need this. And then we're going to do add, and this is going to indicate that, hey, we want to add these two components, and we're going to add the button, and then we're going to add the alert dialog. Okay, so we're going to get both of these components installed. What that's going to do is over here on the left in our file explorer, you're going to see that we now have the alert dialog component and the button component. So we're just going to use those two. We're going to keep things pretty simple. Most of this will be pretty vanilla. But once you have that ready to roll, what we now need to do is just install a few packages. So I'm going to have this script in the text below this video, but what you need to do is copy the first little script here, which is an npm install script, and we're going to install a variety of packages here. So once you get that copied, paste it into here, hit run, and we're going to install all of those libraries here. And what that's going to do, if we look into our package.json, is going to give us access to those software libraries so that we can help build our app. And you're going to need to run one more thing so that we can get really nice markdown text rendering, is you're going to need to run the second install script, which installs this Tailwind typography package as a developer dependency in our package.json. So you can see this is a developer dependency, and the previous install script we ran is a standard dependency. So once you have all that running, you should just be able to run npm run dev here. For you, this is probably going to be on localhost 3000. For me, it's on 3001 because I have the example app running here. So if we go over to our web browser, we go to localhost 3000. I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh here, and you're going to see we have a Next.js app running. Awesome. So that's pretty much all of the setup steps that we need to do on the app side of things. There's a few service level things that we're going to be using. So for this particular project, we're going to be using OpenAI as our model provider. If you prefer to use something like Anthropic or Google or what have you, and you feel comfortable implementing that, you're more than welcome to do that. You can kind of pick the model of your choice. We're going to do OpenAI because GPT-4o mini is very cheap, so it's going to be really convenient for you to test. So the step that we need to do here is we actually need to get an API key. Okay, so this is how you actually get permission from your account to run or to make calls to OpenAI servers to get these responses from the LLM. So you need to go to this link. We'll have all of the instructions here written below in a nice little file for you guys. But what you need to do once you get to the API key section here is you actually need to create a key. So we're going to just do, let's do video. I'm just going to call this video. It's going to create a key for you. Make sure you keep this secret. This is a value that you don't want to expose to anybody. The idea here is that if anybody gets access to this value here, they have access to your account, and they're going to be able to make requests on your behalf, and they could run up your bill or something. So the second I finish recording this video, I will delete this key, which is why I'm okay showing that to you guys. But once you have that copied, okay, so I copied that value in your app here, you're going to want to make a new file, and it's going to be .env.local. And once you have this file created, it's going to allow you to put an OpenAI underscore API underscore key value. So this is going to be an environment variable, and you're going to paste that key that you got from OpenAI right here into your .env.local file. And so this is going to allow our app to pull this secret hidden value in and allow us to actually stream these chat requests back from the OpenAI platform. Awesome. So that is all of the setup steps. We don't need to worry about anything else. And now we can actually jump in and start building our app. So what we're going to do here is if we open in our file explorer on the left here, this app folder, this is kind of where all of the code we're going to write. For the most part, it's going to be what we want to work in is actually this page.tsx file. And what we're going to do is before we kind of get started actually building things is we're going to just completely get rid of this, and we're going to create a div here. You can see I'm starting to use cursor's features a little bit here. You can see this was using cursor tab. I just hit tab, it auto completed this. And now when we go back to our app, you'll see that we just have this hello world, and all the kind of boilerplate stuff from an initial Next.js app is completely gone. So what I want to do here is I'm actually going to move this tab over here, so that we can kind of begin to scope out how we want to think about building out our little app here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do just a little bit of manual code writing here, just because one of the things that you're going to need is to create a folder here. We're going to call this actions. This is going to be a folder called actions. And in this actions folder, what we want to do is we want to create a file called streammessage.ts. So this is going to be a TypeScript file, and we're going to, in here, write the code for streaming a message back from OpenAI. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put this code below in a code block for you guys. So just copy and paste this in here. We're really going to focus on the UI side of things here. We're actually also going to need a chat message type here that I'm going to copy in here. So I'll have this code all ready to roll for you guys. I won't get into why we're not using Cursor to do this. It mostly has to do with up-to-date API docs, but we'll be using this as our utility function to handle message streaming. So once you have this, you can go back into your page.tsx file, and we will be ready to roll. So let's actually go ahead and get started building this thing. So let's pop back into this example app and kind of think about how we want to get started. So a few things here. We kind of have this sidebar on the left, so that's kind of its own thing. We have sort of the chat area, right? So I just say hi. We're going to get the nice streaming messages. We're going to get the nice text input. We're going to get all of these kind of sort of things here. And we really want to think about how we should be breaking this down. So the nice thing about building these apps is you can just kind of use Cursor and work in natural language. So I'm going to hit Command L and open up my chat side panel. So the first thing I actually want to do is I want to make the background dark. We're actually going to get away from this big bright background, and we're going to go to a dark background. So let's just go into Cursor here. And because we have such little code here, what I'm actually going to do is just highlight this code right here, hit Command K, and say, please make the background dark. So I'm going to submit that. Cursor is going to go ahead and write the code for us. And we're going to accept that. Okay, so now if we go back over to our app, we're going to see we have a little bit of a darker background. We won't get things exactly one-to-one from kind of the reference app that I have here. But what we will do is kind of just try and get as close as possible on a first pass. And if you want to kind of go in and polish it, then you're more than welcome to. So let's kind of think about the second thing that we want to do here, which is we're going to kind of continue to think at a really high level just on a UI level, and then we'll get into kind of the actual core features. So what we want to do here on the left is we actually want to have this collapsible sidebar. So what we can do here is we're actually going to jump over to the chat pane. So I'm going to hit Command L. This is going to focus the AI side panel here on the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I need two sections, one on the left should be let's say a 300 pixel wide sidebar, and the one on the right will be for rendering the chat. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and send this, and we're going to use the instant apply feature, which you've hopefully covered by now in this course. But we hit the instant apply button. This is going to apply those changes to our app. We can hit Command Enter to accept. I'm going to hit Command S to save. We're going to jump back over here. Okay, so you can see we now have kind of a sidebar area and a chat area. So you'll notice with the sidebar, one of the things that we're going to want is the ability to kind of collapse it. So let's actually just ask Cursor to implement a collapsible sidebar feature. So what we can do here, and this is where part of your Cursor workflow is going to get a little bit into personal preference. I like to use the chat with instant apply. I find it really nice for kind of full file edits, which is going to be the bulk of what we're going to be doing here. Some people would tell you to do Command K on the sidebar part of things and edit the code. The reason I don't recommend that in this case is because if you use the Command K feature on that, one of the things that you're going to find is as you need things like additional functions that are outside the scope of what you've highlighted, things like imports, it's going to kind of fail at that a little bit. And because Cursor's come out with the instant apply feature that I love so much, I just find that workflow to be a lot smoother. So that's going to be the bulk of what you're going to see me doing here in this video. I'll let the workflow speak for itself as we kind of build this out. But technically, you do kind of have a lot of options here. Again, you should use the workflow that you feel most comfortable with. We're really just trying to demonstrate that you can build kind of this really nice chat app here just purely in natural language without writing code. That's kind of the goal of this video, right? So let's actually go ahead and do that. I can hit Command L, and this is going to start a new chat. Reminder, if you need to access those old histories, you can click the history button. But what we want to do is, because we're working on a fresh task, and every time you kind of start something new, I recommend starting a new chat. Obviously, you can continue to iterate if you're sort of working through one specific feature, but in this case, we're just going to start a new one. We're going to say, please add a sidebar icon that when clicked collapses. Let's actually just say toggles the sidebar. So this is one of the things that you need to get really good at, is that when you're communicating with the AI models, you want to be as clear as possible in your directions, because you want to leave as little ambiguity as possible in there, because it's going to affect the quality of results you get, right? So it's interesting that programming becomes a lot less about getting the syntax right and writing, all of these little things correctly, and it becomes more about just really clearly and concisely conveying instructions to an LLM. So looks like we got some code here. We're going to apply it. You can see that we're actually, it's attempting to use an icon library that we don't have. The nice thing about ShadCN is that we actually get a library of icons right out of the box. It just is not this one. And so what we're going to ask for in a follow-up chat over here is we're going to say, please use the Lucide icons library instead. And because we actually already have this one installed, it's going to go ahead and make that tweak. You can see kind of the red squiggly lines here are giving us errors. So now when I apply this to file and accept, you'll see no squiggly lines. If we hit Command, save, go back to our app, we now have a button that collapses the sidebar. So you can see in our kind of end result that the icon is actually in the sidebar when the sidebar is open. We kind of want to have this behavior. I think it's a little bit nicer. This is a little, the UI is not exactly what we want. And the nice thing about Cursor is we can just continue to ask for that. So let's say when the sidebar is open, please put the icon on the top left of it. And when it's closed, put it in the top left of the screen. So this is going to be a little bit more precise on how we actually want the icon to be rendered in our app. And we still have kind of yet to write any code in here. I'm actually just going to put a little bit of space there just because that's kind of how I like my code formatted. But you can see we're now getting the edit. We're going to accept that, save, and see what things look like. And it looks like it got it exactly right. It's now in the top left, just like we have in the example app. And now we're good to go. Okay. So let's think about kind of what we want next. Let's actually go ahead and get something working now. So we're not just boring everybody with like basic UI positioning. Let's actually get some of the messages stuff working. And so what we need to do is we actually need to create the text area component. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say, we're going to start a new chat. So I'm going to hit Command L, and I'm going to say at the bottom of the chat section, we need a text area And inside of the text area should be a send button on the right side that has a send icon, okay? Because we kind of want this UI where the actual send button is sort of within the text area. What we're going to do is we're going to use file referencing here. So we're going to type at files, and we're going to search for package.json. We're going to actually include this, and we're going to say, please use the auto size input. And the reason we're referencing this file is if we pop in here really quick, you're going to remember that we actually installed this React text area auto size component. And we want to use that as opposed to just kind of like a vanilla one. So what Cursor is going to do for us is it's going to take care of that import. Again, we're going to keep using instant apply. So just get used to that workflow. Instant apply, and we're going to hit accept. And now if we go over here, you're going to see at the bottom of the screen, we have a text area. If I hit shift and return, that's going to auto size, which is kind of the point of the library we installed there. And now we have a little send icon here over on the right. So it's a little too wide for my taste. We're just going to say it should take up a maximum of 800 pixels. And you can see that Cursor is just going to go ahead and write this max width 800 on it and completely take care of that. So we're going to apply that, accept, go back over here, and now you can see the input width is correct, but now it's kind of at the top. And what we need to do is we're actually going to create a little section here for rendering the messages. So let's go ahead and do that next, and that will kind of resolve some of the issues here. So because we're still kind of working on the text area, I'm just going to stay in this current chat, and I'm going to say, so we're going to need an area to render messages. Please add that area between a chat title at the top and the text area at the bottom. So we're just going to kind of continue to iterate right here in Cursor in natural language, and we're going to right now, at least in this page.tsx, we're at 100% AI code writing. So we're going to hit instant apply, save that, and you can see we even have a little test message. This is back at the bottom. So that's pretty cool. So we need to get the actual streaming functionality hooked up now, so that when we click the send button, the chat will actually put our message up here and make the call to that stream message utility that we came up with or that we did earlier. So let's create a new chat here, and we're going to say, awesome, let's finally use and we're going to do more file referencing here, which was we're going to tag stream message function to make a call to the OpenAI API and stream that message back when we submit our input. And like, this is so fast. This is one of the things that is so nice about these models is, streaming this is relatively quick. Obviously, in the future, getting faster tokens per second is going to be really nice. But for now, this is great. So you can see, because we tagged this stream message utility, it's kind of implementing that inside of the app here. You can see we're getting a little bit of an error. And it appears to just be a type error as opposed to something that's a little bit more unwieldy. So we can kind of get to fixing that later if we need, but kind of all of this generally looks correct. So let's just go back to the app and see if this works. So we're going to type hi, we're going to hit our button, and we want to see if this works, and it looks like we're getting an error. Okay, so this is where you have to start debugging with Cursor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command Option J and open up my DevTools here, and it looks like we're getting a type error. Output is not async iterable. So this is probably going to be the first time that we actually have to that we actually have to kind of do manual code here. And one of the reasons for that is that because we're using this Vercel AI SDK to stream text, the model and its training data doesn't really have great information about how to handle that, because the library that we're using has been kind of built after the model's been trained, and there just aren't that many examples of it in its training data. So that's where this starts to error out. All of the stuff that we've kind of done up to this point, this is like very standard web development stuff. So one area you might see the model struggle a little bit is when you need kind of up-to-date documentation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pop over to the AI SDK docs for kind of the stream text example that we're trying to use. And Vercel has really good docs about how to use this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and copy the code example that they give us. And what we're going to do in the chat is we're just going to paste that straight up there. I'm going to hit shift return, give us a little more space here, and I'm going to say, here's how you're supposed to use the stream message function. And what this is going to do, based on the one little example that we give it, is the model is actually going to go, okay, here's the correct way to do it. I'm going to figure that out and implement that. Cursor is going to handle that for us, and we're going to hit accept. So I'm actually just going to get rid of this max duration because we don't want to set a limit on how long an answer can stream. But if we pop back over to our app, and now, I don't know why it's trying to get me to translate here, but if we type hi and send this should hopefully now be streaming. Okay, so you can see the message kind of came in, but it looks like we're getting some sort of a UI bug there. So let's go ahead and let the model know that we're getting that, and just say, awesome, that fixed the error, but it looks like there's a little bit of a bug with how the UI for the assistant message streams in and renders in our chat area. Okay, so we're basically just trying to explain in very clear, precise natural language what the error is that we've observed here, which is that the answer was completing, but now it's kind of like not really rendering. We got that kind of weird flash. So it looks like it's kind of noticing what it did wrong. And what we can do here is we can just hit the apply, and let's actually take a little bit of time to look through what's going on here. So it looks like this is mostly the same. It looks like I removed some parentheses here, so it's indicating a line change, kind of the same thing here. And then it looks like we're adding a streaming message check here. And I'm not actually sure if this is going to work or not. So let's hit accept here and just see what happens. And again, I could debug this a little bit better, but the idea with this video is I'm trying to assume that you're not technical. So many of you, if you're more technical, this video might be a little bit little too simple for you, but I want to really try and reach as many people that just want to kind of start building apps as possible. So you can see we're now getting that UI rendered. You can see it changed a little bit. So this is kind of where being able to actually read code becomes very important, because one of the things that's difficult if you aren't technical and you're purely relying on the AI to code for you is that it starts to become a little bit difficult. So this is where you want to do things like, highlighting this and doing context chats here to actually ask what's going on in your app and things like that. Because you do want to make sure that you're actually understanding what it is that you're doing. You could obviously just sit here and iterate and apply all day long. But sometimes, especially as you build out more complex apps, that's going to get a little bit unwieldy. So I'm going to go into my chat history just so we can get back into this chat. And I'm going to just say, so the problem right now is clearly that if we send a message, it kind of streams in, but then we kind of lose the UI in rendering. And so we're just going to explain that in the best way that we can over here in the chat. So let's just say, so when the message is done streaming, it doesn't render in the UI. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take an image of this just to try and give it a little bit more context of what's going on. So I'm going to take that image, little screenshot there, and I'm going to drag it up here just to give the model a little bit more information to work with. So because Cloud 3.5 Sonnet is a multimodal model, we're going to be able to do that. So what this is going to do is hopefully give the model some more information to work with. You can see we're now changing things up a little bit. This looks like a much better result here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh this page, and we're going to test it again and see if we got something that's working now. And guess what? It's now working. Okay, so now if I hit test, we should be getting kind of an iterative chat history where the blue messages are us and the green messages are the AI model. So I do want to make a note, because this is all AI generated code, odds are that your code probably looks different than mine at this point. These model generations are going to have some variability to it, but I think generally speaking, you can kind of still follow along, even if your UI looks slightly different or what have you. So let's just keep working here. You can see in the chat here, this is a much more nicer format. This is kind of similar to what the current ChatGPT UI looks like. So let's ask the AI, we're going to do a new message here, new chat. We're going to say put the user messages on the right and the assistant on the left. So this will kind of, instead of all being in the same side here, kind of give a little bit more visual spacing there, which is going to be pretty nice. So let's go ahead and hit apply here, save that, and boom, we now have the messages on either side. Okay, so this is starting to come along and be a little bit more actually usable, right? The idea here is now you can refresh this anytime you want and ask for a chat. So let's actually get the chat saving. So because we don't want to have to use a full database, what we're actually going to do is we're just going to be using local storage, which saves the text to your actual browser. I'm also going to close out of my developer tools here now that we're kind of done debugging. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the chat and say, please, let's see, let's go look at our example app. So the way this workflow works is basically we have a create chat button here that lets us create a new chat. You can see now we have a lot of different chats. So let's say in the top right of the sidebar, there should be a create icon that allows us to create a new chat. These chats should be saved to local storage. Okay, and you'll remember that we kind of have this format for the chat messages here. So what we can do is kind of define how we want that data to be saved. So we should say each chat should have an ID, a name, and an array of messages. What we're going to do is, because the type definition that we have for how we want chats to be defined is in the stream file, and we're working in the page, we're actually going to just reference that file, the stream message.ts file, and this is going to kind of pull that context in and correctly build this out. So you can see it's even defining the type for that. So what we can do is we can hit apply. It's going to take us right into this file, and it's going to add the chat type. So let's accept that and save that. And then we also want to jump in and apply the changes to page.tsx. So this is kind of the first time we're seeing in the chat panel over here on the side actually editing two files. And the nice thing with instant apply in Cursor is that whenever you click the apply button, it goes straight to that file and it applies it. So you don't need to worry about, having the correct file open. It will just automatically do that for you, which is really cool. So you can see it's starting to do some of this local storage stuff. You can see it's setting the current chat ID, so we're kind of keeping track of what chat gets selected. It's keeping track of all the different chats we have. You can see this is actually like writing a ton of code for us. So it's probably worth kind of going through and seeing what's going on there. But we're just going to keep kind of going through here and hitting save. You can see one issue we're getting, and you'll come up, you'll run into this issue, is that the model is basically trying to import a library that we don't have. But what's cool is that it's actually just suggesting the install script for this because it knows that we don't have access to that in our project, which is pretty cool. But what I actually want is I'm just going to say, just use the current date time as the ID. So instead of having to install a new library here, we're just going to have the AI model use the date times as the IDs instead. Okay. So now let's go back over to our app. You can see we have a little plus button for creating a new chat. So let's click this plus button and actually see if it works. And it looks like we're all good to go. You can see it's even actually styled pretty well, which is nice. If we hit this multiple times, it looks like everything is properly creating. If we go into this new chat one and type hi and send this off, it looks like we're now getting a little bit of a bug. So before we move on, let's communicate that we found that bug so that the model can address that. So I'm just going to hit refresh here, and we're just going to see if that did actually save. So it looks like our message is saving. It just looks like there's some little bug where the first time when you send it, it disappears in the UI. So let's go ahead and communicate that. So I'm going to create a new chat once again. A lot of new chats in this. Let's actually move our terminal a little bit down. We want to get a little bit more of this code view now that we have a lot more code in here. And let's say, so mostly looks good on the save stuff, but when messages get streamed in and saved, they disappear from the UI. So let's see if the model can recognize what's going on here so that we can actually fix the issue. So you can see it suggests a pretty robust change here. So let's go ahead, hit apply, and just see what's going on. So you can see the code's kind of here in the handle send message function. So let's accept that, save, and let's just see if this is fixed now. So let's go into chat one again since we have some messages here. We're just going to do hi. Okay, cool. So our bug is now fixed. So again, the model's really smart, guys. Like anytime you're able to just clearly communicate what feature you want, what your bug is, all of this stuff, the model's actually going to mostly take care of this for you, okay? And you don't have to go in here and try and debug things and test a bunch of stuff and write your own code. You could just keep communicating with it in natural language, right? Which is super cool. And again, I know I mentioned this kind of earlier at the top of this video, but the reason I really like chat is because not only do you get the generations that you would get from like a Command K type thing, but not only do you get the code that you would get from Command K, but you get explanations with it. And the nice thing is I can say like, okay, I'm not technical. Can you explain what you did here so I can follow along? And as you kind of start doing this more and more, the cool thing is if you're not kind of a traditionally trained developer and that's not your full-time job and you're just kind of making your own tools, your own software for fun or whatever, the more you chat with the models, the more stuff you're going to pick on or you're going to pick up on, right? So you're going to kind of learn via osmosis a bunch of real world programming stuff just by kind of interacting with the chat here. Like it's amazing where as you actually just start building out your own projects, you really do learn all this stuff. And in the future, kind of as you build more and more, not only do you get better at using all the cursor features, but you actually start to notice you become a little bit of a not too shabby developer, which is kind of cool. So we now have chat saving. We have the ability to select new chats. Our messages save, right? So if I go to like new chat 2, let's just verify that these are saving to the correct chat. So I'm going to say hi. my name is McKay, and I'm building an app with AI smiley face. Oh, and this is interesting. One of the features that we want is we want to be able to just hit return instead of just having to click this button every time. So the cool thing is, as we verify that this saves to separate chats, is we can now actually go ask for that feature. So let's go into our chat and say, hey, when I press the enter key, can you submit my new message? And what we actually don't want it to do is when we're holding shift, we still want the auto size to work. So let's make sure it knows that. Don't send though when I also have shift held down. We'll go ahead and send that off. And that should now allow us to have this feature where we could just hit the enter key. So you can see it's doing this handle key down function where it's checking if the key is enter and not the shift key. It should should run that function. So if we instant apply that, accept that, save that, jump back into, let's go into chat 3 here. Chat 3, we do hi. Now instead of clicking this button, I'm just going to hit the enter key, and that works. And then if we go to chat 4 and we type some stuff here and we do shift enter, that doesn't submit. Okay, which is the same behavior that we have here in the example app. So this is most of kind of the core features, which is really nice. We'll probably stop right about there because I think this is going to get a little bit repetitive. Let's actually do one more feature, which is, let's say, when I hover over my chats in the sidebar on the right side, it should show a trash icon that when clicked should pop up, and now we're going to reference the alert dialog. Okay, so file reference, alert dialog. Again, file referencers are done with the @ key, and then you can search for the file and confirm the delete. Okay, so the reason we installed this alert dialog is because we want to make sure that the user is actually confirming that they deleted that they actually want to delete the chat. So you can see we're getting the chat to delete here in state. We're getting a little function that's handling the actual deletion, which is really cool. It's importing that component, which was in a completely different file, which we were able to get access to because we tagged the file in the @reference feature. And it looks like it did everything we needed. So once again, we can hit instant apply. And one of the things that I want to mention too is one of the really cool things that Cursor's implemented is they kind of like pre-compute the apply. So that's why it's so snappy when you hit the button and it's kind of immediately done. If we were to hit the button like right as it generated, it actually takes a little bit of time. But what they do is they kind of pre-compute this so that the workflow is kind of lightning fast, which is pretty cool. So if we hover over these now, you'll see we have a trash can on the right. It even did a hover, it turns it red, which is nice. Nice job, Claude 3.5 Sonnet on that. And now if we click this, we should get an alert. Awesome. If we cancel that, it should not delete my chat. Let's go to chat 5. Let's delete chat 5. Actually, let's just delete the last one. And then if we click this delete, it should delete my chat. Boom. So that's all done. So we're able to do all of these different features just by working with Cursor over here in the AI side panel, doing chats, doing instant applies, doing file referencing. And you can see now we've written, 200 lines of code, or rather the AI has written 200 lines of code. And we're able to just kind of build our little app here completely in natural language, which is really cool, right? Like if we wanted to flip the order of the chats in the sidebar so that the newest ones are first, you can see kind of we're going sort of oldest chats to newest, and we want to flip that sort order. We just ask for it in natural language. We hit instant apply. It runs the apply. If we scroll down here, you can see that this file is getting a little long here. It's just this one line here, which is kind of cool. It's just doing a little reverse. We hit save, and now the order is flipped. And because we had the IDs as the date time, it was kind of able to intelligently figure out like, oh, hey, I could just, make that one line tweak, and now the user gets what they want. So, that's how you can build apps in natural language with Cursor. Again, this was a little bit more of a beginner video, particularly geared at the more non-technical people. We're going to have obviously some more advanced stuff coming out for real kind of professional developers who are sort of trying to implement these concepts into production grade workflows and in production grade apps. So we'll have a lot more stuff pretty in the near term future here for you guys there. But I hope you continue to kind of just play around here. Hopefully everything worked out for you there. This is a pretty straightforward, simple example, so I can't imagine you ran into too many errors as long as you followed through with this. But thanks for watching, and we will be back with more content soon.